Okay, welcome to part 7 of the Pygame shoot 'em up that we are manipulating from KidsCanCode here into Monogame, Love2D and Pygame. Today it's the Love2D version, and we're doing the shields. The code is available on my GitHub repository. I'll put the link in the description, and of course it's in the Love2D section. So I'll just show you what this one does. So we'll hit the double arrows here. Not playing in debug mode now, so I can get hit, but I'm less vulnerable now because there we are. You've heard the crashing of a mob, and I finally died. So let me just play that again, because I want you to look specifically at the top left corner for the rectangle that represents the shield. So there it is, full, and as I get hit it starts to reduce in size, and eventually when I get hit it goes to 0. You hear the rumble explosion of the player dying, and then the game quits. So that's a change I'd already made on Love2D because it's very easy to manipulate the sounds, but I have only just done that on the Pygame version, so we'll go through everything. So first things, changes to the player lure here. That is, we've added 2 more variables: player.alive set to true and player.shield set to 100. So we've just added those in on top of all the other properties that we already had there. So that's the player done. The shield itself we'll come back to in a second. Let's go back to main. The changes are, let's see, I can't remember whether I did this last time or not, but I wanted to reduce the volume of all the sounds, so I'll just briefly go through it again in case I forgot last time. So what we're doing, loading in the sounds into our sounds table, and then using the KV in pairs function of Lua, which is a way of going through a table and getting the keys and values of that table. So we're kind of ignoring the keys because we don't need to know what shoot and shield and power is, but we do need to set the volume of the value down to 0.2, and then I'm further setting the background volume down to 0.1 just to keep that even lower, so that the whole lot's done in this for loop, and then I'm just readjusting the background volume. So that's the audio loaded in. If you've just watched the Pygame version, you'll see we had to use a different technique completely, where we had to open a sound channel in Pygame and then play the background sound via that channel. We actually do something similar in Monogame, which is the next video, but this one is really easy. So okay, that's loading in the sounds. Now what we're doing with those sounds is mainly in the mob player collisions. I had done this already on the Love2D version, but we've changed the function here so that we're kind of checking whether the player is still alive. And the way this works is, when going through the list of mobs as before with this for loop, we're checking to see if the player has been hit by a mob. If the player has been hit, it stops playing the shoot sound. It then plays the explosion 3 sound, and then now, because we've got a shield in, the shield value is reduced by the size of the circle of the mob. So the bigger the mob, the more is knocked off of our shield. If that shield value goes down to 0 or below, that means we're dead. We then do love.audio play the sounds.die, which is that rumble.og, and then we can set the player alive to false, then break out of this loop so we're no longer updating any mobs, just in case there's another one immediately behind which would kind of interact with us as well. So this is just kind of preventing that. So that's how this works, that when the player is hit by a mob, alive is set to false and it plays the audio for sounds die. Next frame comes along 60th of a second later. If the player is alive, which obviously it won't be if we've been hit, then we're going to do this else statement here. And then what we're checking is whether the sounds die is playing. So this is what is lacking in the Pygame version. There isn't an is playing. There's another one called get busy, but it only applies to channels or to music. So it's kind of a bit of a workaround that's used in Pygame. But here it's easy. It just is playing, and that applies to both streamed and static sounds. So if the die sound is not playing, then obviously we're dead and time to quit the game. So that's how this one works. So I think that's it for sounds. Yep. So let's go to the loading again. So now we're looking at the shield. So the shield is another table which I'll show you in just a second, and it's imported here. Shield equals require shield. That's all we need to do. It's because it's a static class, we don't need to make an instance of it. We just bring it in. So that's done. Let's show you what the shield class looks like. So as you can see, we haven't got any of the Lua stuff to make a class. This is just a simple static class inside a table. So we've got the shield. All we need is the shared folder to get colors and things from, and then we've got these settings to determine the length and height and color of the bars that are created when drawing our shield. So we've got an outline rectangle here, which is the white line that goes round. If I just show you very briefly again, let's hit that. So the white line that goes round the rectangle itself, it's not showing up that well on here. And then we've got an inner rectangle, which is the amount of the shield that's left. So that's gradually reducing there. And I've also got a dark blue inside one, which I did not put on the Pygame version. We only had the two rectangles on that. We had the outline and we had the fill, but we didn't kind of blot out the background. Whereas here, as you can see, as mobs pass it, they're not actually showing through this black area. So that's a small improvement over the Pygame version. So let's show you how that works. So we're setting up these rectangles here. So that's the outline in white, because we'll be passing did we pass them through, or did I do it directly? Can't remember now. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So the line color is white, and then the fill color is dark blue. So that's the fill color of the solid rectangle behind, and then we're going to use green for the filling it in. So slightly different routine here in Love2D, because we actually set the colors within the draw function in Love2D. If you remember, we actually set them here, not from kind of the outside. We don't pass the colors in and then use them. They are directly put in here. So in the update, what happens is the value of the shield, which was 100, is reduced by the mob that's hit it, and then we pass that value into the update function. If it's below 0, then we make it 0, and then the shield percent is that value, and then the fill rectangle width is set to that percentage over 100 times the shield bar length, which is all set up here, so that we're going to get a proportion of that rectangle filled in depending on what value our shield still retains. Now the draw method, we start with the fill color, which we have set up here, if I remember right. Yep, shared dark blue. So we've got a dark blue filling here. I'll just show you what shared dark blue is in case this was new. Shared dark blue is 00 and then 12 over 255. The reason I've put it 12 over 255 is if you're doing this in Pygame, you would have the value of 12, but because Lua uses the 0 up to 1 values for colour, we've had to do it as a simple fraction here, just to kind of represent the same colour. So in Pygame this will be 12, 0, 0, 12 RGB. Let's go back to where we were. So the first Love Graphics rectangle here is the fill colour, which is the dark blue. Then we set the colour to green and fill that excuse me, with the actually I've just realised I've made a small error here, because what I'm supposed to be doing is to set the shield fill colour, which is dark blue, across the whole of that rectangle, but of course I'm then doing the same, setting the colour to green and using exactly the same values down here. So am I doing that or not? Fill rect Y or X? Oh no, I'm not, because I'm using the fixed bar length here and then the fixed bar height here. So we are doing it right. Yes, I just thought for a moment that I was trying to draw exactly the same shape over itself, but we're not. We're doing this as before. So come back to the beginning again. We're doing the filled dark blue color and doing the whole rectangle from the length of the bar to the bar height. So we're filling the whole thing in. Then we're refilling the same area using the fill rectangles width and height, which has been set in the update value here, and then we're drawing the line round the whole rectangle. So this one has set, I believe, line. I tell you what we can do to make it slightly brighter. If I put comma 2 here, that should make it a little brighter. Let's just save that, run it again and see whether that does the job. Yes, it's a little better. It's a bit more obvious now. I think we could probably even make it 3. Yeah, that's okay. But you can play about with that to sort it out to make it just how you want. So that's how the draw function works. It draws that shield thing in 3 sections: the kind of background, solid color, the background, the amount of the shield value, and then finally the outline which goes around it. So again, in Love2D we use this either fill for a solid rectangle or line for a line rectangle. So that's the shared done. Let's show you how that works in main. So in the update function we are simply doing shield update and passing it the value of the player shield. So if the player shield's 100, then obviously it will draw it at a full width in green. If the player shield's down to 10, it'll only draw 10% of the shield. And then finally in love.draw, simply calling shield.draw. So that's the beauty of using a class for anything new you want to add. Put it in its own class, then you can call that new class its update and its draw functions by just passing anything that you need to pass and doing all the calculations in the update. So that's how that's working. So we've now got the shield there, and also have made it so that when the player dies the rumble continues. So let me just hit that once more just so you can see that happening. So I'm just going to deliberately get hit by as many of these things as I can. There we go. The rumble of the die continued until the rumble sound stopped, then the game quit. So that's the Love2D version.